What Got You Here Won't Get You There, by Marshall Goldsmith. Introduction. Imagine getting a call from the CEO of one of the largest companies in the world. A Fortune 100 giant. He's not calling to talk about profits or strategy. He's calling about a person. One person. He starts by describing this executive. "Marshall," he says, "I've got this guy. He runs a big division for us, and he delivers his numbers and more, every single quarter. So far, so good. Sounds like a star." The CEO continues, "He's young, smart, dedicated, ethical, motivated, hardworking, entrepreneurial, creative, charismatic." The list of praises goes on. You can almost feel the but coming, can't you? And then it lands. He's also an arrogant, stubborn, know-it-all jerk. The CEO explains the problem. The company is built on teamwork, but nobody thinks this guy is a team player. He's brilliant, but he leaves a trail of bruised egos in his wake. "I'm giving him 1 year to change," the CEO says, "or he's out. But it would be worth a fortune to us if we could just turn this guy around." That phone call, received by executive coach Marshall Goldsmith decades ago, holds a secret that applies to every single one of us, whether we're a CEO, a student, an artist, or just starting out in life. It's a paradox that's as simple as it is profound. The very things that got you to where you are today, the drive, the intelligence, the ambition, are often the very things that will prevent you from getting to where you want to go next. Today, we're diving into one of the most influential business books ever written, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. This isn't just a book, it's a mirror held up to the hidden habits of successful people. Marshall Goldsmith, recognized as the world's #1 executive coach, has worked with the leaders of companies like Ford, Goldman Sachs, and Toyota. He's seen firsthand what separates the great from the almost great. And what he's discovered is that for successful people, the path to the next level isn't about adding new skills. It's about stopping old behaviors. So, here's my promise to you. By the end of our time together, you will understand the subtle, almost invisible, bad habits that are holding you back from your own next level of success. And more importantly, you'll have a simple, clear, and powerful roadmap to change. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's about becoming the best version of the person you already are. Let's begin. Book summary. Have you ever seen one of those ads from an insurance company? There's a famous one that shows a powerful grizzly bear in the middle of a roaring stream. Its jaws are wide open, teeth bared, about to clamp down on a salmon jumping upstream. The headline reads, "You probably feel like the bear." And then, underneath, in smaller letters, "We'd like to suggest you're the salmon." That, in a nutshell, is the core delusion of success. We all think we're the bear. We overestimate our contributions. We take credit for successes that aren't entirely ours, and we have a much higher opinion of our skills than our peers do. It's a funny thing, success. It's the greatest positive reinforcement in the world. When you win, the world tells you you're doing everything right. Your paycheck, your title, the respect you get from others, it all screams, keep doing what you're doing. And this creates what Marshall Goldsmith calls the success delusion. It's built on 4 core beliefs that help us become successful in the first place, but then become enormous obstacles to change. The first belief is, I have succeeded. This is our highlight reel. We edit out our failures and replay our greatest hits. We tell ourselves, silently, all day long, I've succeeded. I've succeeded. I've succeeded. It gives us the confidence to get out of bed in the morning. A baseball player Marshall spoke with told him that when he faces a pitcher he's hit well in the past, he goes to the plate thinking, I own this guy. But when asked what he thinks when facing a pitcher who owns him, he said, same thing. I go up there thinking I can hit this guy. Successful people never drink from a glass that's half empty. The second belief is, I can succeed. This is about self-efficacy. It's the belief that through sheer force of will, talent, or intelligence, we can make things happen. We feel like we're in the driver's seat of our own destiny, not just a passenger. Successful people believe that success is earned through motivation and ability, even when it's just dumb luck. This is empowering, but it also leads to a dangerous assumption: I am successful. I behave this way. Therefore, I must be successful because I behave this way. The third belief is, I will succeed. This is the unflappable optimism that drives us. We believe success is practically our birthright. But this can easily mutate into excessive optimism, leading to the single greatest enemy of personal change: overcommitment. The executives Marshall works with aren't drowning in problems, they're drowning in a sea of opportunity. When asked why they didn't implement a change they agreed to, the most common answer is, I meant to, but I just didn't have time. And the fourth belief is, I choose to succeed. Successful people believe they are doing what they do because they choose to do it. They have a high need for self-determination. When we do what we choose, we're committed. When we do what we have to, we're merely compliant. The problem is, this powerful sense of commitment makes it incredibly hard to admit we've chosen the wrong path. These four beliefs combine to create something that affects every single one of us, whether we realize it or not. They make us superstitious. Now, I know what you're thinking. Superstitious? Me? I don't avoid black cats or walking under ladders. But in this context, superstition has a different meaning. It's the mistaken belief that a specific behavior is the cause of our success, when in reality, it's just correlated with it. It's what Goldsmith calls the superstition trap. He tells the story of an executive named Harry. Harry was brilliant, dedicated, and always made his numbers. Everyone agreed he was instrumental in turning his organization around. But Harry had a massive flaw: he was a terrible listener. When Marshall pointed this out, Harry defended himself. He argued that his poor listening was actually a source of his success. He said he hated cluttering his mind with bad ideas. As he put it, with a hint of pride, I don't suffer fools gladly. This is the superstition trap in action. Harry had confused two very different things: the success he achieved because of his brilliance, and the success he achieved in spite of his rudeness. Marshall's greatest challenge is helping people see this difference. Helping them realize that much of their success comes in spite of certain behaviors, not because of them. And this brings us to the heart of the book. What are these in spite of behaviors? Marshall has identified 20 of them. 20 habits that hold successful people back from the top. As we go through some of them, you might recognize a few in others. You might even recognize a few in yourself. The good news is, they're not deep-seated psychological flaws. They are simple, correctable behaviors. As Peter Drucker, the great management thinker, once told Marshall, we spend a lot of time teaching leaders what to do. We don't spend enough time teaching leaders what to stop. So, let's look at what we need to stop. The number one, most common behavioral problem Marshall observes is habit 1, winning too much. This is the need to win at all costs, in all situations, when it matters, when it doesn't, and when it's totally beside the point. This habit is the root of almost all the others. If we argue too much, it's because we want our view to prevail. If we put people down, it's to position them beneath us. If we withhold information, it's to give ourselves an edge. It's all about winning. Marshall tells a story of being at a party and watching a father play one-on-one basketball with his 9-year-old son. The father had a 2-foot height advantage and 30 years of experience. The game started out as fun, with the dad letting the kid score. But about 10 minutes in, something changed. The father's gotta-win gene kicked in. He started guarding his son closely, trash-talking, and took genuine pleasure in crushing him 11-2. We shake our heads at that, but how different are we? Imagine you want to go to restaurant X for dinner. Your partner wants to go to restaurant Y. You argue, but you reluctantly give in and go to Y. And it's terrible. The service is slow, the food is bad. You have two options. Option A: You can spend the whole dinner smugly pointing out how right you were, and how this disaster could have been avoided if only they had listened to you. Option B. You can shut up, enjoy your partner's company, and make the best of it. When Marshall polls his executive clients, 75% admit they would choose option A, they'd rub it in. And yet, when asked what they should do, they all agree. Option B. The relationship is more important than winning a trivial argument. And still, the urge to win is so strong it overpowers our common sense. This bleeds directly into habit 2, adding too much value. This is the overwhelming desire to add our 2 cents to every single discussion. Marshall was at dinner with the famous consultant John Katzenbach and his brilliant protege, Nico. Every time Nico shared an idea, John would interrupt. "That's a great idea," he'd say, "but it would work better if you," and then he'd tweak it. He was trying to help. But here's the problem. You might improve the content of an idea by 5%, but you reduce the other person's commitment to executing it by 50%. Why? Because it's no longer their idea. It's yours. You've taken away their ownership. The higher you go as a leader, the more you need to make other people winners, not just yourself. Then there's the cousin of adding value, habit 6, telling the world how smart we are. This is our deep-seated need to show people we are at least their intellectual equal, if not their superior. A friend of Marshall's was interviewing for a job with a psychology professor who was writing a book on Mozart. The professor boasted that he'd read everything about Mozart and challenged the young man to ask him any question. The young man, who happened to be a classical music aficionado, finally asked, "Okay, name 13 Mozart operas." The professor could only name 9. An awkward moment, to say the least. The lesson is simple: being smart turns people on. Announcing how smart you are turns them off. Many of these habits are about what we say, but some of the most damaging ones are about how we say it. Take habit 5, starting with number, but, or however. No matter how friendly your tone, when you start a sentence with one of these words, the message you send is, "You are wrong." It's a subtle power play that immediately puts the other person on the defensive. It turns a conversation into a competition. Marshall once coached a COO who had this habit so badly that he started charging him $20 every time he said no, but, or however. Within an hour, the COO owed him $420. The financial pain quickly taught him to stop trying to win every tiny point and just listen. Another destructive habit is habit 4, making destructive comments. These are the needless sarcasms and cutting remarks that we think make us sound sharp and witty. Marshall admits this was his own biggest challenge. He didn't make nasty comments to people's faces. He did it when they weren't in the room. So he made a deal with his staff: "If you ever hear me make a destructive comment about another person, I'll pay you $10. His staff started tricking him into it just to get the money. By noon on the first day, he was down $50. But eventually, the pain of paying up worked. He broke the habit. The problem with destructive comments isn't whether they're true. The real question is it worth it? And what about the things we don't do? One of the most common complaints is habit 16, not listening. It's the most passive-aggressive form of disrespect. When you don't listen, you're sending a whole fleet of negative messages. "I don't care about you. You're boring. You're wasting my time." Marshall worked with a research organization where senior managers had a terrible habit. During presentations by junior scientists, they would look at their watches and impatiently repeat, "Next slide. Next slide." Is it any wonder their best young talent kept leaving the company? Closely related are habit 17, failing to express gratitude, and habit 15, refusing to express regret. Marshall believes the 2 sweetest words in the English language are not a person's name, but simply, "Thank you." Gratitude creates closure. It's impossible to argue with. The same goes for saying, "I'm sorry." We often resist apologizing because we think it's a sign of weakness, of losing a contest. But in reality, it's the opposite. An apology is a sign of strength. It erases the past and allows everyone to move forward. Now, all of these habits are problematic. But Goldsmith saves a special place for what he calls the 21st habit, because it's not a transactional flaw you do to someone. It's the root cause of all the others. He calls it goal obsession. This is the force that takes over when we get so wrapped up in achieving a goal that we do it at the expense of a larger, more important mission. Think of Colonel Nicholson in the classic film The Bridge on the River Kwai. He's a British POW in World War II, forced by his Japanese captors to build a bridge. Being a man of high integrity and dedication, he doesn't just build a bridge, he builds a magnificent one. He becomes obsessed with the goal of building the perfect bridge. So obsessed that at the end of the film, he finds himself defending his beautiful bridge against his own side, the Allied soldiers who have come to destroy it. In his final moments, as he realizes what he's done, he utters the famous line, "What have I done?" He was so focused on his goal, build the bridge, that he completely forgot the larger mission, win the war. This happens to us all the time, though usually in less dramatic ways. We become obsessed with making money to support our family, but in the process, we work so much that we neglect the very family we're trying to support. Perhaps the most chilling example of goal obsession comes from a famous study at Princeton. A group of theology students were told to go across campus to deliver a sermon on the topic of the Good Samaritan. Some were told they were late and needed to hurry. On their path, the researchers had placed an actor who was pretending to be a victim, coughing and suffering on the ground. The study found that the seminary students who were in a hurry, obsessed with the goal of getting to their sermon on time, literally stepped over the suffering person on their way to give a talk about helping a suffering person. Goal obsession turns us into people we don't want to be. It makes us rude, dismissive, and self-absorbed. It's the engine that drives the other 20 habits. So, if these are the problems, these deeply ingrained habits fueled by our past success, what is the solution? This is where Marshall Goldsmith's work becomes truly transformative. He offers a 7-step method. A way to not only change our behavior, but to change how other people perceive us. And it all starts with one of the hardest things for a successful person to do. Step 1 is feedback. You have to find out what other people really think. But you can't just ask, "What do you think of me?" That question invites flattery or fear. There is only one question that works, the only one you should ever ask when seeking to improve. How can I do better? This question is brilliant because it's not about the past, it's about the future. It's not a critique, it's a request for help. Once you've heard the truth, you move to step 2, apologizing. This is what Marshall calls the magic move. You go to the people you work with, the people whose opinions matter, and you say 2 simple things, "I'm sorry, and I'll try to do better." That's it. You don't explain, you don't justify, you don't make excuses. An apology isn't a negotiation. It's a cleansing ritual that allows everyone to let go of the past. Marshall tells a powerful story about a client named Beth, the highest-ranking woman at a Fortune 100 company. Her peers loathed her, especially a division chief named Harvey. They were in a perpetual turf war, and it brought out her mean, vindictive side. The first thing Marshall had her do was apologize to Harvey. She bristled at the idea. But she did it. She walked into his office and said, "Harvey, I've been disrespectful to you. Please accept my apologies. There is no excuse for this behavior." Before she could finish, Harvey cut her off. She looked up, expecting a fight, but she saw he had tears in his eyes. He said, "You know, Beth, it's not just you. It's me. We can get better together." That's the magic of an apology. It turns adversaries into allies. Step 3 is advertising. After you apologize, you have to tell the world what you're trying to change. This is critical because of a psychological principle called cognitive dissonance. People see you through the filter of their existing stereotypes. If they think you're an arrogant jerk, they will interpret everything you do through that lens. The only way to break that pattern is to announce your intentions. You have to say, "I am trying to become a better listener." Suddenly, your efforts are on their radar. You have to advertise relentlessly, like a political campaign, until the message sinks in. Step 4 is listening. And not just passively hearing words, but active listening. This means 3 things. You think before you speak. You listen with respect, making the other person feel like they are the only one in the room. And most importantly, before you respond to anything, you ask yourself one crucial question: is it worth it? Marshall had a client who was a COO, now a CEO, who said the biggest thing he learned was this practice. He said, "Before speaking, I take a breath and ask myself, is it worth it?" I realized that at least half of what I was going to say wasn't worth saying. Step 5 is thanking. As we discussed, gratitude is the ultimate tool for closure. When someone gives you feedback or a suggestion, even if you think it's the dumbest idea in the world, your default response should always be, "Thank you." It costs nothing, and it keeps the lines of communication open. Step 6 is following up. This, Marshall says, is the secret sauce. You do not get better without follow-up. This is what separates a real commitment from just another program of the month. You have to go back to your colleagues every month or so and ask that famous question from New York Mayor Ed Koch, "How am I doing?" Marshall discovered this through a massive study involving 86,000 people across 8 major corporations. The results were undeniable. Leaders who did little or no follow-up showed little or no improvement. Leaders who consistently followed up showed a dramatic jump in their perceived effectiveness. Follow-up shows you care. It shows you value their opinion. And it forces you to keep trying. Finally, this all leads to step 7, practicing feed-forward. If feedback is about the past, feed-forward is about the future. It's a simple, powerful exercise. You go to anyone, a colleague, a friend, even a stranger, and you do 4 things. 1. You state the one behavior you want to change. I want to be a better listener. 2. You ask them for 2 suggestions for the future that might help you. No talk of the past is allowed. 3. You listen attentively to their ideas. 4. And the only thing you are allowed to say in response is, "Thank you." That's it. No judgment, no critique, no debate. Just a pure exchange of ideas for the future. It's like a race car driver being told, "Look at the road, not the wall." Feed forward helps you focus on the road ahead. There's an old Buddhist parable about 2 monks walking back to their monastery. They come to a stream where a young woman in a beautiful bridal gown is crying. She needs to cross to get to her wedding, but she's afraid of ruining her dress. Now, these monks are forbidden from touching women. But the first monk, filled with compassion, hoists her onto his shoulders, carries her across the stream, and sets her down safely on the other side. The second monk is furious. For the entire walk back to the monastery, he scolds the first monk. "How could you do that? You broke our sacred vows." The first monk says nothing. That night, the second monk can't sleep. He wakes the first monk up and starts yelling again, "How could you carry that woman?" The first monk looks at him, smiles, and says, "Oh, her? I left her at the stream. You're the one who's been carrying her all this time." When it comes to our past mistakes, our flaws, and our regrets, we have to learn to leave them at the stream. Apologize for them, learn from them, but don't carry them with you. Because what got you here won't get you there. Commentary. As we come to the end of our journey through What Got You Here Won't Get You There, I find myself reflecting on the deep, quiet humility that sits at the heart of this book. In a world that celebrates achievement, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of more, Marshall Goldsmith offers a radical counter-narrative. He suggests that the path forward isn't paved with more skills, more knowledge, or more effort. It's paved with the courage to let go. The most powerful lesson, for me, isn't about what to do. It's about what to stop. It's the idea that improvement is often an act of subtraction, not addition. Stop winning too much. Stop adding value. Stop making destructive comments. Stop needing to be the smartest person in the room. Stop passing judgment. Think about how liberating that is. You don't need to learn a complex new system. You just need to stop doing something that's probably draining your energy anyway. Success is a tricky thing. It builds a fortress around our ego. The more we win, the more we believe we have all the answers. We become insulated from the truth. Goldsmith's work is a gentle but firm wrecking ball to that fortress. It reminds us that no matter how high we climb, we are still human. We still have blind spots. And the only way to see them is to have the humility to ask for help, and the grace to accept it. The real genius of this book is that it's not just about business. It's about life. The habits that hold us back in the boardroom are the same habits that create friction in our homes, with our partners, with our children, and with our friends. Who among us hasn't felt the need to win an argument with a loved one, even when we know it will cost us something far more valuable? Who hasn't failed to say thank you or I'm sorry when it mattered most? So, how can you start applying these lessons today? Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. I want you to try something very simple. First, pick just one behavior from our discussion that resonated with you. Just one. Maybe it's the tendency to start sentences with but. Maybe it's the habit of not fully listening when someone is talking. Don't try to fix everything at once. Pick one thing. Second, go to one person you trust. A friend, a family member, a colleague you respect. And ask them the two magic questions. Start by saying, I am trying to get better at your chosen behavior. And then ask, what are one or two simple ideas you have for me for the future? And then, the hardest part. When they give you their ideas, no matter what they are, your only job is to listen. Don't argue. Don't defend yourself. Don't explain why their idea might not work. Just breathe, listen, and when they are done, say the two most powerful words in this entire process. Thank you. That's it. That one small act of humility is the beginning of every great change. The book closes with a beautiful thought experiment, and I'd like to leave you with it. Imagine you are 95 years old, and you're on your deathbed. You're given a gift, the chance to go back in time and give one piece of advice to the person you are right now. What would that wise, old version of you say? What really mattered in the end? Was it winning that argument? Was it proving you were right? Or was it something else? Whatever that advice is, that's your there. That's your destination. And the journey begins right now. That was a summary of What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. We've journeyed through the core of this incredible book today, exploring the paradoxes of success and the simple habits that can unlock our next level. But a map is not the territory. A summary can show you the path, but it can't replace the feeling of walking it yourself. The real magic happens in the quiet moments of reading, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with your own life in a way you didn't expect. If anything we've talked about today has sparked a flicker of recognition in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself and the world around you. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if this conversation has added some value to your day, the greatest thank you can give is to hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Here, we believe that great ideas are meant to be shared, and by growing together, we all get a little closer to where we want to be. Let's keep learning, and let's keep growing, together.